Hi there, and thanks so much for your company on the Great Southeast. Well, the beautiful broad Maroochy River starts as a trickle in the Sunshine Coast hinterland and ends its journey to sea here at Cotton Tree. There are plenty of ways to explore this coastal waterway. I'll share a few suggestions with you later, plus a new attraction that turns the river into a runway. It's food on the move for Alistair, road testing a couple of Brisbane's newest food trucks. Blair gets a rare look inside a Brisbane heritage icon. And first, Laurel's on a tasting tour of Tamborine Mountain.
Tamborine Mountain has always been a favourite escape of mine. Up here, the temperatures are a little more comfortable and the views are glorious. But do you know what else loves the cool, elevated climate? Grapes. And where there are grapes, you'll also find another favourite of mine.
You guessed it, wine. But there's always that little issue of driving.
All right, guys, jump on board.
Tash Maree Hansen to the rescue. Tash's business, Tash Maree Travel, offers wine tasting day trips with free home pickup and drop-off if you live in Brisbane. It's about good food and great wine in beautiful locations, while Tash mans the steering wheel. And it's not long to our first stop.
So welcome to Witches Falls Winery. This has been awarded 5 stars from James Halliday, and for a really good reason. They do everything here from the washing and the weighing of the grapes, right up to the labelling and the bottling process.
Winemaker John Heslop is the man who turns fruit of the vine into fabulous wine.
As you can see here in cellar door, we've got these large windows behind cellar door so you can see exactly what's happening with the whole winemaking process. So the first wine we're going to have a look at here is our Wild Ferment Chardonnay. Our 2013 version was served at the G20 in Brisbane. So we'd like to think that, in fact, that was our Chardonnay was one thing that Barack Obama and Vladimir Putin could agree on, a great Chardonnay. So anyway.
John, you've worked at some pretty prestigious wine regions around the world, haven't you?
Started off working down in the Barossa Valley. From there I moved to the Hunter, and my wife and I, we established here 11 years ago, and in the meantime I've also done vintages in the Napa Valley in California and Burgundy in France. And
how do we hold up here at Tamborine Mountain?
Well, you know, we're a 5-star James Halliday winery, so I think we do pretty well. We hold our own. A 5-star here is the same as a 5-star anywhere.
Our next destination on Tash Maree's tour is Mason Wines. This winemaker is Ballindine based, but here on the mountain there's a cellar door for tastings. And Eden restaurant for a leisurely lunch, which is included in the tour.
Tash, what's your background with doing wine tours?
Well, I never was that fond of wine until I was lucky enough to be working in Spain, and I was a photographer at a surf camp there, and they had beaches one side and vineyards the other. And this little old man that lived at the bottom of our driveway, he made all his own wines. So in downtime, I'd take a couple of guests and we'd walk down and he'd put on a little show of chorizo and cheese and let us taste all of his wines, and it's probably what got me into it all. If I can do it in Spain, I thought, what's stopping me from doing it in Australia?
And how have you come across the actual locations that you go to, the actual wineries?
There was a lot of snooping around and a lot of wine tasting, which wasn't so bad.
That's called research.
Exactly.
The finale for lunch is a lineup of wicked desserts.
Oh, yeah. There it goes.
Prefer to finish with a cheese platter? Then don't go anywhere. Last stop is Witches Chase Cheese Company, home to fabulous handmade fromage, crafted by award-winning cheesemaker Millsy.
Today we're going to have a tasting, and first of all we're going to start off with the Camembert. Obviously for reasons we call it the Camembert because we're on Mount Tamborine. In most places they call it the Camembert.
Millsy's lined up a decadent collection of hard and creamy cheeses. But as a POM, this cheesemaker's a champion of cheddar.
So we're going to go on to the Millsy's cheese, Millsy's cheddar. Like I said, this is my own recipe.
Quite famous?
It's one. I think it's won a few gold awards in England. So I brought the recipe over here and I've made it here, and it does. It's done pretty well. So when you eat this one, as it goes down the back of the palate, close your mouth, breathe out through your nose, and you'll pick up all the flavours.
Tash Maree's Tambourine Mountain Deluxe wine tasting tour costs $130 per person. It includes visits to 5 outlets, wineries, distilleries, and of course all tastings and a 2-course lunch. See Tash's website for other tour ideas.
1, 2, 3, 4, high five! They're back in Brisbane at the moment as part of their House of Dreams tour. It's a show that journeys through jungles, coral gardens, the Wild West and outer space. That's this week at the Royal International Convention Centre, so jump online for tickets. The landmark and the lens. What's the link between Brisbane's old Tower Mill and these amazing snapshots from the city's past?
Welcome back to the Great Southeast. On the southern banks of the Maroochy River, just off Brisbane Avenue, you'll find this footbridge. It gives you easy access to Little Chambers Island, which is a really popular spot for families. There's picnic areas, a kids' playground, and of course access to lots of little beaches. You can also get there by boat, and later in the show, I'll show you one of the easiest ways to arm yourself with some paddle power.
The Old Windmill on Wickham Terrace is Brisbane's original high-rise and a heritage wonder.
Firstly, it's Queensland's oldest surviving structure, convict built in the 1820s. Also, it's Australia's oldest windmill. And lastly, it's very, very rarely open to the public.
Hi Blair, you ready to come in?
Sure, my lucky day.
Having passed by many times, I'm finally getting a peek inside.
Watch your step, Blair.
Gee, it sure is narrow.
Yeah, no handrails either.
Philip Manning is the curator at the Museum of Brisbane.
Are we there yet, Phil?
2 more flights to go.
There's a reason he's taken me to the top of the windmill. But first, a little history.
So it was built as a windmill to grind flour and maize for the penal colony, but also as a form of punishment for the convicts.
A form of punishment?
Yeah, so there was a treadmill attached to it, so it was people power, 16 convicts.
16 convicts powering the mill?
All day.
All day long? That's punishment.
The 4-story climb is punishing enough, but how often do you see the city from this perspective?
It's a great view from up here.
It is a wonderful view. Not as good as it would have been in 1895 when a local bank clerk and amateur photographer, Alfred Elliott, took a series of photographs from the observation deck, which we've used 8 of those to join together and create an absolutely fantastic sweeping view of the city.
Wow, a view of 1895 Brisbane from up here?
It is amazing. And
that's
it's
so
astounding.
cool.
It's a fantastic panorama of yesteryear Brisbane, and you can see it in its gloriously enlarged detail at an exhibition now on at the Museum of Brisbane. The view from here, the photographic world of Alfred Elliott, is like opening a family album from the past. Elliott's lens captured 50 years of life between the 1800s and the 1940s. People of the period, Brisbane places, frozen on film and glass plate. There are even holiday snaps. Love this one of the Bribie Island bus service.
So how did this wonderful collection come to be found?
There was a collection of glass plate negatives found under a house in Red Hill.
Under a house?
Under a house in Red Hill. The collection had 285 glass plate negatives that were found in cigar boxes, as well as Elliott's original tailboard camera that he used. He annotated and wrote on all of the glass plate negatives, which is what made this exhibition possible, because he's provided so much detail on the glass plate neg. So he's written the dates, who he's photographed and where the photograph.
So he left lots of clues for you to follow.
Yes, he was a very fastidious man, so thank you very much, Alfred Elliott.
What else do we know about him? Phil did some digging and discovered Elliott was a member of the Queensland Amateur Photographic Society. it would have been an expensive hobby, using equipment that in its day was comparable in quality to our digital cameras.
So this is the glass plates that he would have used?
Yes, this is one of the glass plate negatives that he's produced. So they're pretty fragile, they're only about 2 mil thick, but the quality of them can be quite amazing. A beautiful image of some girls riding bicycles through the Botanic Gardens, and what really I love about that photo is that the image is such a crisp photograph, and by exploring the digital version of that image, I've been able to see in the background these men actually watching, probably Elliot setting up the camera, but then probably the girls riding along the path.
The view from here is on at the Museum of Brisbane at City Hall until August 30th, and entry is absolutely free. Check the website for detail of Phil's Curator's Tours. By the way, there's a neat historical postscript to the story of Alfred Elliot and the old windmill.
In 1934, 25 years before the first official broadcast in Brisbane, 2 men used the tower mill to broadcast a single still image to a handful of receivers. Those 2 men, Alan Campbell, and a sound engineer named Tom Elliott. Tom was Alfred's nephew.
Ahead on the show, have oven, will travel. Alistair gets the good oil on Brisbane's booming food truck scene.
There's an intriguing new phenomenon that has taken the term food movement quite literally. Gallivanting gourmets can save their frequent flyer miles as fine food, not fast food, has gone mobile. Restaurants on wheels are now roaming the streets of Brisbane, delivering quality food in any location they choose. My good friend and food editor at Queensland Taste magazine, Sharni Rawson, has been following this food on the move craze for a while now and has organised a ride-along of sorts. And although the restaurant may travel, a great base for many of these businesses is the commercial kitchen for hire, Wandering Cooks. What's in the box?
So pizza dough. So we make our dough on site.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we let it rise for a couple of days and then it's ready to go.
Food trucks have become a very cool way to get a hot meal. That was chef Luca Ferrone's thinking when he decided to put his pizza restaurant in a refurbished 1978 Combi. Miss Rawson?
Thank you.
How cool.
So Luca, why did you go for a van rather than a regular pizza shop?
Because I want to be on the street, talk with the people, go where they are, so they don't need to come to the shop. So we are more everywhere.
Tell me a bit about the vehicle, your transport of choice.
Yes, always love vintage car and motorbicycles. So I also have a Vespa and love combis. So I got this combi, was pretty much all rusty. So I restored it myself with a panel beater. Took us 6 months.
Yeah.
And yeah, then the combi came out and we imported an Italian oven. And so we mount the oven on the back of the combi and that's where we are.
You just need to get a Vespa to do deliveries. You don't
Yes,
have the full
yeah,
set.
that's on the plan where we're going to open the restaurant. So,
Yeah.
So you've been voted in the top 5 pizzas in Brisbane. Tricks to a pizza. What's the secret?
okay, I believe there are 5 secrets for a good pizza. So, good oven, we got it.